From what I've seen shown in Madden 20, it looks like the running game will be a big feature of many offenses you'll see online. I say this for 3 reasons. Blockers holding their blocks for longer, especially with the inside, outside, pin and pull guru abilities that reduce block shed and disengage times even further. The much quicker pass rush that'll have players shying away from throwing the ball. And lastly, with RPOs, which can be really tough if the defense doesn't know what they're doing. So let's get you prepared for the opening days of the game. Disclaimer, the game hasn't come out yet, it's still Madden 19 at this point, so much of this is still speculation, but you can bet I'll be making an updated video after the game comes out. So stay tuned for that if you're not already subscribed. Until then, these are some very important things to know that you can use day 1 of Madden 20. Defending the run pass option means defending the run. So how do you do that? Well, first you need to know that if you're just going to call your play and run it without adjustments, you're likely going to get burned. So if I come out here and call cover 4 quarters out of big nickel over G, and my opponent is running inside zone out of just a standard trips look here, and I'm saying, okay, I'm using the middle linebacker here, the Mike linebacker, and my duty is to fill the front side A gap. If I do that, if I do my assignment, it's going to be very easy for the center or the right guard to target me. But more importantly, if you're just going to go and set up your defense without doing any adjustments, without putting any thought into it, you can very easily get RPO'd to death. So if I go ahead and simulate that, do my best job at simulating this in Madden 19, aggressive run fits by, in this case for cover 4 would be the play side safety and the slot defender here. I'm just putting them in the blitz assignments. It's the best I can do for now. And especially even still, they see the user defender inside the box and playing maybe a little bit too aggressively on the run. They can quickly pull that ball, see the aggressiveness, throw the little slot, and here you have a 2-on-3 for the offense, and that's easy yards. Now note that in this game, unfortunately, we can't really modify the run fits. In real life, you'll see coaches making the defensive end here the force defender, and then they'll allow the slot defender to kind of slow play the run where he'll make sure the RPO is covered and then fit the run once he knows that it's a run. But in this game, as of right now, we can't do that until maybe that mechanic's added into the game later down the road. Now we can play this position ourselves, but then we're kind of out of position to fit the run in the middle of the box, and then we're also out of position to play, say, a backside RPO to a slant or something there. And then obviously, if we're playing the middle linebacker, as most people will often do, no matter how juiced the stats are, we can't, cover the run here and then work out there to cover the bubble or the slant. I mean, we can go out there and then make a tackle of 5 to 10 yards down the field, but then, you're giving up precious yards. Note that we can stack the box here, so we can bring a 6th defender into the box against 5 blockers, and that'll leave the backside defensive end free. But what's kind of silly in this game is that even though, say if it's a slow quarterback or we're not expecting a read option, he's still going to sometimes play the quarterback. And even still, if he chases after the running back, usually people have a fast enough back to just totally outrun him. Plus, then you're uncovered over here in the slot where you can get RPO'd even worse with, say, a bubble or a slant because now your defender is even further away. And I can just quickly show that how, see in this case, the backside defender was left free, but he didn't do anything. Option number 2, you can pay for better run defenders, which may be okay, but chances are your opponent is setting up with better run blockers too. So you can't just count on being better personnel-wise. In most cases, it's just a wash. Side note, better run defenders means actual linebackers at linebacker, which means that you can't jump or grab interceptions. So that's no good either. The best way to go about it is to dictate where the offense goes with the ball, i.e. to hand the ball off, then set up how you want to defend that. Usually that means sacrificing something, but at least we're calling the shots now. So we can make them hand the ball off, and then we can prepare how we want to defend the run off of that. And one way to do that is to call just straight up man coverage. So cover 1 or cover 0 or cover 2, even with a press, it'd probably be doing better. So I'm about maybe 95% sure that the man defenders won't be biting on the possibility of the run, and they'll stick with the man. So in this case, maybe they can pick that ball off, or they can just be another defender out there. And from what people have been saying, man coverage may actually be really good. But then do you really want to be stuck in man coverage the entire game? Good players will know that if you're running man they'll just check into a better pass play, and vice versa. If they see zone, they can check into an RPO. But anyway, it should still be a decent option for you. So look into, if for whatever reason somebody's really RPOing you to death and you really don't know what you're doing, just consider, checking into a man coverage. But what I think the best option will be is to actually pass commit. Which sounds bad, but if you know how to gap exchange, you can shoot gaps and become a one-man wrecking crew up front. And what I was saying before, although we can't modify the run fits for individual defenders, we can modify the run fits of the entire team, of how fast and how aggressively or how passively they play the run, with the simple just LT and up on the right stick to play the pass. So how do we gap exchange? Well, I'll show you an example here out of the big nickel over G, but you can really do this out of any 4 down front. There's as an overshift or an undershift, where you have this one technique defender right here, right between the center, right between the guard. And there's many ways we can do this. We can do this at a variety of different formations, and even within the same formation, we can do it in a variety of different ways. But what I think to do is this is really the best way to do it. If I just go about this again, showing it like I did before. If I'm controlling the backside linebacker here and I say, okay, my responsibility is the backside B gap, it's going to be very, very easy for that guard to target me, and I'm taken out of the play, and it's potentially a bigger play. But we can actually game the inside zone blocking rules to our advantage. So if we know how it works, in this case, it's going to be a one technique defender right here. He's going to get combo blocked. He's going to get an initial double team from the center and the guard, and then after that initial block, one of those offensive linemen is going to peel off and go to the second level, which is going to be the linebacker, which is going to be your user defender. So if he's on this side, they're going to double team, and then the guard is going to go target the backer. Sometimes they actually avoid the double team altogether. I still don't know why that happens. And then the offensive lineman will go directly towards you. Or if you're on this side, they will do the double team, and then the center will work towards you. So the gap exchange, we set up on one side and we fill the gap to the other side. Okay, so in this case, even if we're, say, over here, just barely left of the one technique, it's going to cause the left guard to try to block us. And then the center will be on the one technique. But if he's, the left guard and we're filling a gap to his right, 2 gaps to the right of him, it's going to be very hard for him to block that. So for example, just like this, very, very easy, and we can get a very easy shot in the halfback. Now, some alignment tips. Of course, we can't go over here all the way to the right, because then the center will very easily target us. We don't want to be too far out here, because then you got to kind of loop all the way around here, and then that actually might give it a chance for that left guard to come and make a play. So all the way out here, still able to kind of almost make a play, but it's much, much more difficult. So then tying this back to the original idea is that to defend the RPO, we're going to pass commit. So all of our other defenders aren't really going to be helping us out in the run. And even though there's 6 blockers here and essentially 5 run fitters, the 4 down linemen and you're going to be a one-man wrecking crew. So when I run this, keep your eye on the safeties here, which in cover 4 should be pretty aggressive in the run fits. But in this case, since I pass commit, they are going to back off. And again, I'm just going to do my very simple technique. And I'm going to round it, wrap up, and make the tackle. Now, of course, showing these examples, I'm working on the backside linebacker here who's controlling the flat. So if I'm a little bit too aggressive, I can get hit by an RPO to the backside slant. But in that case, you can get a little bit creative with this, where you can maybe control the mic here. You can still kind of go over here and gap exchange with him. Or you can, maybe play a double team back here, or, you can get a little bit more creative with it. But, this is something that's going to need a little bit more detail in another video when the actual game comes out. You can also gap exchange over here, but it doesn't work as well for one reason, actually 2 reasons. It's not working with the one technique, so the combo blocks work a little bit differently, and you're not running in the direction of the halfback. You have to kind of loop through here and then back in the direction of the run. Doesn't really work out. This is the best because you're closest to the back and you're running in his direction. Now you may ask, what if they call something like RPO zone peak and get your user trying to shoot gaps? But I'm willing to bet that no one is willing to test the user that close to the middle of the field. At best for the offense, they get about 15 yards. At worst, it's an interception, pretty high risk for that reward. Anyway, that's it. This should help you during the first week or so of Madden 20 until we see how RPOs actually pan out, i.e. which ones are the best, and if there are any better ways of defending them. So until then, keep your eye on man coverage and use pass commit, and then, in my opinion, the best way to defend the run is going to be to shoot those gaps, because you cannot count on having better personnel, and you can't necessarily stack the box, because then you're just going to be you know, especially with the better throwing, passing trajectories, you're going to be out of position and you don't want to be. Okay, so again, you know, I'll definitely be making a video on that as soon as I can. So stay subscribed and I'll see you guys then.